Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be going over my ranking for every single Wings of Fire book. This does not include the winglets, but it does include the Legends books. The only spoilers mentioned is the villain for Escaping Peril, so feel free to skip that one if you haven't read it. Keep in mind that this video is entirely opinionated, so feel free to have one of your own. I'll be going over my favorite book to my least favorite book. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. My absolute favorite Wings of Fire book is Escaping Peril. Peril is such an interesting character, and I'm glad that she got her own book. It was such a breath of fresh air to see something from her perspective, because she sees things so much differently. It really helps you bond with her and realize how broken she really is, but that she's getting better. Queen Scarlet is my favorite villain by far, and she was so well written in this book. Not only did she look very cool with half of her face melted, but she's so intimidating. Scarlet is probably one of my favorite villains ever, and I'm glad that we got to see her again. Chameleon is very underrated, and I enjoyed every bit of time he got in the book. There are tons of twists and turns in Escaping Peril, and I loved every minute of it. It's definitely my favorite Wings of Fire book. Second on my list is The Dangerous Gift. This is going to surprise a lot of people, but I actually love this book. Snowfall is such an interesting protagonist, and I understand her struggles more than I would any other character. Lynx is such a funny side character, and I loved how much we saw of her. The fact that Snowfall becomes nicer and nicer throughout the book is such a great storytelling idea. For this book, the Ice Wings were one of my least favorite tribes, but now they're one of my favorites. Their whole philosophy just makes sense to me now, and I'm glad that their tribe is finally starting to understand themselves. Talons of Power is my third favorite book. Turtle is honestly such a fun protagonist, and I'd love to see even more of him in future books. Anemone's personality was something that I found very exciting to read about, and this book has the best action sequence in the entire series. Though it is one of the more popular books, I agree with most people because it has a lot of heartfelt moments to it, and I can relate to Turtle a lot. Moon Rising is my fourth favorite Wings of Fire book because of the outstanding characters. It introduced the Jade Winglet at the perfect pace, which is something that Tui normally struggles with. The characters that Moon interacts with are so complex and unique, and I love it. It is the perfect book to start Act 2 off with, and it is just a masterpiece. The next is Darkstalker Legends. If I'm being honest, I thought the book was just okay. It's mainly high on my list because of the amount of violence. It's probably the darkest book in the series, which kept my interest. I'm not a huge fan of Clearsight, so I didn't enjoy the time that she had in the book. I feel like Fathom was way too much like Turtle, so I didn't like him either. Darkstalker and Whiteout were both amazing and definitely the highlight of the book. The violence is perfect and we need more of it in the series. The Brightest Night is my favorite Arc 1 book. Why, you may ask? Well, Sunny appears to be a very quiet and nice character in the other books, but in this one she totally has her time to shine. Pun not intended. She's such a cool character and my favorite member of the Dragonets of Destiny. Sunny is adorable, but makes for a fun protagonist in her solo outing. The characters introduced in this book were really the highlight of it, and the Sandwings are my favorite tribe, so I enjoyed reading about how they live. The Poison Jungle is a pretty good book, and probably my second favorite in Arc 3. Sundew is a very unique character with a crazy personality, but I kinda liked it. Bumblebee had some of her funniest and cutest moments in this book, which was the main reason that I liked it. Without Bumblebee, it would have been lower on my list. I think the Leafwings deserve way more attention, and I wish they had more powers. The Lost Heir is a very good Wings of Fire book with a decent amount of action. Tsunami's struggles are quite an interesting thing to read about, and I love seeing how she struggles to live amongst her fellow Sea Wings. The mystery element about it was by far my favorite part, and we need more books like it. Dragon Slayer was disappointing. I do not like the scavengers in Wings of Fire, so this book was a bit boring to me. I read it fairly quickly so that I could just move on to the other books, but it didn't sit well with me. I didn't get attached to any of the characters whatsoever. The only part I did like was Deathbringer's little cameo because it made me actually like him. I got a bit excited whenever Ren's chapter came along, but other than that it was quite boring. The chapters dragged on endlessly and it definitely could have been shorter. I love long books, but this was just filler. The Dragonet Prophecy was alright. The way they introduced and killed off characters so quickly bothered me because I would have loved to see more of the Guardians. Clay is such a sweet character, and the way he interacts with Peril is by far my favorite part. Scarlet is a lot more interesting at Escaping Peril, and I didn't like her much here. Winter Turning is quite boring. Absolutely nothing happened in this book, and the series could have moved on without it. To me, it felt like filler, and it was tough to complete it. I don't care for Winter, and I do not ship him with Moonwatcher, so the ship scenes didn't sit well with me. Overall, nothing happened. It kind of made me dislike the Ice Wings for a very long period of time. Darkness of Dragons was a disappointing finale to Arc 2. I absolutely love Keebley, and he's one of my favorite characters, but this book was just boring. The villains weren't interesting, and it was kind of slow to be a finale. I wished it was a lot better, but it just didn't seem right to me. The Hive Queen is a missed opportunity for an amazing book. I love Cricket, but her solo book did not do her justice. I was hoping the book would make me sympathize with the Hive Wings, but it honestly just didn't. Just like Winter Turning, nothing happened in this book. It totally could have been skipped and the series would have moved on. Cricket is such a funny character, but this book was a wasted opportunity. Tui should have gone with her gut feeling and made Cricket a journalist or a reporter. The Hidden Kingdom was just awful to me. This is a very unpopular opinion, but I do not like Glory and Kinkajou. To me, the Rainwings are too overpowered, and that is why Tui made them lazy. There was literally nothing about this book that I liked, except maybe for how I imagined the rainforest. It was very disappointing and featured very little content from the other Dragonets of Destiny. The Dark Secret is most people's least favorite book and is low on my list as well. Just like what happened with the previous ones on my list, nothing happened in this book. Starflight is a boring protagonist and the Nightwings are a weird tribe. The False Dragonets of Destiny were definitely what brought the book down for me. Storytelling was honestly super slow and I was just begging for something interesting to happen. The lost content is my least favorite Wings of Fire book. Tui tried way too hard to casually introduce a whole continent into the series. Blue is a pathetic character and I don't feel bad for him at all. Luna was my favorite part about the book, so I'm glad she's getting her own solo one. Everything moves way too quickly and I didn't ever have time to process what was going on. I can't relate to Blue very much and not much happened. Anyways, what did you guys think about my rating? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.